Tabe has just released Arc 7 Chapter 58B, and this video will be a summary of the chapter. I highly recommend you check out my Arc 7 Chapter 57B summary. Anyways, let's begin. It was humiliating. Her soul was burning. Her guts were seething. Her biting fangs creaked. She was driven into a corner. If there were other dragon people, they would have admonished her and killed her for her state. However, that wouldn't happen, as Madelyn was alone. She was always that way. Flop, we have to get her inside. On the edge of her consciousness, she heard those words, speaking the human language. The red woman with the dress, the white woman with the snow. They work together with brilliance. Madelyn sits up and lashes out. Call me an idiot if you like. A thin back was pushed away and another person appeared before Madelyn. The body, hit by the attack, crumples to the floor. This person was not the target of her hatred, but she voices out, "Who's next?" Kicking the body of the man she tore to the ground, she tries to give into the ferocity to find her next prey. But then she sees the man with his golden hair. He is a stranger, and Madelyn can barely distinguish the face of humans between each other. But there, smeared in the blood, Madelyn sees that the man is wearing a necklace containing fangs around his neck. The scene changes. Flop rushes to Rem and pushes her over. He was then hit by Madelyn's attack and is now on the floor bloodied. We see that he has 4 scratches going from his shoulder to his waist, so all the way through his torso. Rem realized that Flop protected her and therefore went to help him. Madelyn continues to stand there with blood dripping from her claws, and Rem grabs Flop and tries to help him. However, Rem is pushed away by Madelyn, and Madelyn grabs Flop and asks why he has Carillion fangs around his neck. Again, wait for a proper translation for the name of these fangs, but it seems that Madelyn recognizes the fangs around Flop's neck. Madelyn shouted this in an emotional way, racked with grief and rage. Flop doesn't respond. After all, his life is about to be extinguished. Madelyn presses for an answer, but Rem says he's unconscious and is dying. Rem stops Madelyn by grabbing her and explains that they should help Flop. However, Madelyn doesn't see the point, and Rem states that she has healing magic so it can be done. Madelyn asks if she can save Flop, and Rem says that she will do what she can, and Madelyn says to do it fast. Rem inspected Flop's wounds and started healing him, but it was taking a toll on her body. Despite that though, she couldn't give up. Rem recalls Priscilla's words. Priscilla explained that blood isn't the only factor when it comes to life. There are other things that the eyes do not see, and healing arts should be able to grasp it. Priscilla told Rem that even though she lost her memories, she has the power to heal people, stating that no one can escape from themselves. With this, Rem focused on healing Flop, reminding herself that the healing arts is about saving lives and not necessarily about healing wounds. Therefore, it should be possible to save Flop. Sharpening her healing skills, she repairs the threads of life within Flop, saving him. Flop seems to stir from his consciousness and wakes up. However, he states to Rem that Rem shouldn't heal him fully. This actually caught Rem off guard, and as a result she stopped healing Flop, and Flop went unconscious again. Rem reflected on what Flop said. Usually he would have a reason for saying what he did. Rem thinks about it and she stops focusing on healing, reminding herself that Madelyn, the culprit behind Flop's state, is standing right there. Rem analyzes the situation and asks Madelyn who she is. Madelyn says to heal the man, but Rem states that she's worried about who Madelyn is and therefore she cannot concentrate on healing Flop. With that, Madelyn introduces herself as the 9 Divine General Madelyn Eschart and asks why Rem stopped healing the man. With that, Madelyn grabbed Rem and said to heal Flop, but Rem said that she will heal Flop on one condition, that Madelyn helps with repelling the flying dragon invasion. In other words, Rem is negotiating with the attacker to retreat. Rem reflected on Flop's words to not fully heal him. In other words, Madelyn is obsessed with Flop's life, therefore Rem can use that as a bargaining chip, and that's most likely what Flop was intending. Therefore, Rem will use Flop's life as a shield in order to stop the attack. Despite that though, Rem deep down does want to actually save Flop, but she knows it's better this way. Rem again asks what Madelyn will do. After the shockwave created such a large mess, Kuna and Holly, who were elsewhere, would take some time to appear, meaning that Rem is currently alone at the moment. Rem again presses Madelyn, and Madelyn says to not underestimate a dragon, and Madelyn grabs Rem's throat. Seeing the strong aura in front of her makes Rem want to cower in fear, but Rem thinks about Subaru. Subaru protected Rem against an even stronger opponent, and Subaru never backed down. Rem never thought Subaru was strong or special, yet Subaru never cowered in fear like Rem is currently. Rem then forces her resolve and states that if she dies, Madelyn loses. In other words, if Rem dies, Flop will die, meaning Madelyn will get no answers to her questions. Madelyn is then asked to choose between her orders of destroying the city or saving Flop's life. Therefore, Madelyn is then again asked to choose to let the people live or to kill them. The scene changes and we see that her consciousness came to. She was fighting with Priscilla and then a shockwave occurred. Emilia recalls the events. She was fighting with Priscilla and then Madelyn muttered a word, and then an entity with a similar atmosphere of Volcanica rained down a white light from above. Priscilla summoned her Yang sword, and Emilia summoned many walls of ice to protect themselves. Emilia then went to look for Priscilla, however Priscilla tells Emilia to stop sniffling, and we see that she's sitting on some debris. Emilia looks relieved. However, Priscilla states that Emilia should remember that they are competing for the throne of Lagunica, so Emilia's true wish should be that Priscilla should die here. However, Emilia says that she doesn't want Priscilla to be hurt, and then says that she's surprised that Priscilla thinks that she is an enemy. Emilia actually is a bit happy about this, since it shows that Priscilla is now showing Emilia respect and actually sees her as a potential contender for the throne of Lagunica compared to how she first saw Emilia. Emilia states that they need to find Madelyn, however Priscilla states to not go since it isn't needed. Emilia looked above and saw that all of the sky dragons were leaving, and Emilia states that maybe Madelyn did them a favour. Priscilla doubts it, but Emilia states that only Madelyn can order the retreat of the dragons. If Madelyn was defeated and she was the leader of the pack, then maybe that's the reason why the flying dragons retreated. But then again, what about the white light from above the clouds? Priscilla interrupts Emilia's thinking, and she states that not even she can see everything, but wonders if Madelyn found something which should take priority over destroying the city of Guaral. Priscilla's reasoning would be determined right or wrong after the dragons had left. The flying dragon swarm that destroyed the city of Guaral and the subsequent assault by Madelyn was followed by a harsh ice season, and then followed up by a white light shockwave. To rebuild the city, the wounds must be assessed. Despite everything, there was one fact to be stated. Madelyn and her flying dragons had retreated from the city of Guaral. However, that was not all. A merchant named Flop O'Connell and a girl named Rem disappeared without a trace. And with that, the chapter ends. So I can't believe Tappy is doing this. He's actually blue balling us. He's not letting Ram and Rem meet up when they're close by, because Ram must be nearby if Emilia is there. So it's a shame that everyone is getting split off. Subaru gets teleported somewhere. Abel is at Chaos Flame. Rem and Flop gets taken somewhere. So this is an absolute mess. I'm not sure how Tappei is gonna sort of fix the situation, but let's see what happens. Thank you for watching.